When we got this assignment, we wanted to make a short LARP or role-playing game. We shared an interest in mythology, so we wanted to do something with that as well. Since it was important for us that the game was replayable, so people could buy it and get multiple uses out of it, we took inspiration from the card game Arsenic and Lies. In Arsenic and Lies, everybody gets random cards each game, so that means there's almost an infinite number of possibilities to play with.
We also wanted the game to be accessible to people who don't know a lot about Greek mythology. This led to the creation of the character Dirk. Dirk is a stereotypical Dutch man who knows nothing about Greek mythology. This meant players could play their characters, or the gods, in the way they liked, in a way that felt comfortable for them, since any incongruities in the stories about the mythologies are just Dirk messing up the story.
Every player gets to play as a Greek god. They get a character card with some information about the god, as well as one relationship that the god has to another god, such as Artemis and Apollo being twins, or Zeus and Hera being married. Next to that, they will also get one relationship card with a randomly assigned relationship on it. Because everyone gets one relationship card with a relationship to another person and is also the subject of someone else's relationship, everybody has two randomized relationships, as well as the one not randomized relationship that's on their character card.
During our first playtest, we tested the character and relationship cards with some short scenes between 3 players. The cards gave a good starting point, but they lacked a communal end goal. We also noticed that it was unclear to the players what Dirk's purpose was.
After the first playtest, we tried to create more of an overarching story for the game. We decided that the game was set in current times and that gods had been slowly losing their powers, so they came to Dirk, the most average mortal they could find.
In return, Dirk set up a way for them to be reborn as new gods instead of continuing to lose their powers.
We divided playtime into 3 acts with breaks in between. During the first act, players could get to know each other and build out their relationships. Before the second act, players would hear that their powers are fully gone and that they would become mortal, but that they would be given another option, to be reborn as a new god. During the third act, they will then finally get the choice to either go to the portal and be reborn or stay and become mortal.
During a second playtest, we've noticed that the players were very confused, especially about Dirk. Who was Dirk? Was he a mortal or god? Why should he trust what Dirk says? Eventually, none of our players ended up going through the portal because they didn't believe Dirk was telling the truth. They also felt like they didn't have anything to gain from it, since they were losing their powers anyways.
We realized that having Dirk as an unreliable narrator did not work, because of the live nature of LARP. Players are playing and experiencing their characters in the moment, and having them play out the retelling of someone else's character, of their character, it added a lot of unnecessary complications and made the LARP harder to follow.
We ended up completely reskinning Dirk. Now he became an employee in a station for dying gods. He summoned the Greek gods to him because people didn't believe in them anymore and they were losing their powers. It was his job to get him through this last step, fully becoming mortal. However, he decided to help them
by giving them the option to be reborn instead.
After playtest 2, it became clear to us what the theme of our game was. Were the players willing to give up their identity to get powers again? We ended up rewriting some of Dirk's lines to fit his theme better, and we also revamped most of our original cards.
Then we made the visual design with the help of my friend Katja. She made the logo and border, while Myrthe and I made the character portraits. We made the backgrounds of the character portraits color coordinated to show the relationships that are on the character cards.
The border is inspired by extant examples of Greek faces, while the colors are handpicked from pictures of those extant examples. The logo is 2 amphora turned towards each other to form Dirk's bow tie.
Our third playtest was a raving success. Players had a wonderful time. Dirk made a lot more sense in his new role, though it should still be smaller. This would allow the players to really focus on the Greek gods and the relationships between them. This led to the choice of making Dirk only appear in the form of a disembodied voice. We also decided to describe the room as being in an empty void, to have the characters completely cut off from the outside world. Last but not least, we gave the relationship cards one final look over, adjusting them with the help of some player feedback.
When we started this project, we didn't really know where we would end up. We had multiple different elements that we liked: Greek gods, interpersonal relationships, a character named Dirk, and the final choice. But we couldn't really seem to fit these together. After our second playtest, the core of the game suddenly became clear: identity versus power. We ended up rewriting most of our cards to fit this theme better, which meant, sadly, cutting some of our favorite elements. But it brought the game on a whole to a divine new level. We're very proud of the game we made and hope many people will get to experience the joy of playing it.